Alrighty, welcome back to round 6 matchup previews for the NRL. Last week we had some banger matchups and outcomes. Cleary had the good matchup and he delivered in fantasy and Supercoach. Should have known better. Terrell May shut down Payne Haas, and that was reflected in the data. The Tigers had been really staunch and both teams choked each other out. So looking to bounce back this week and try and get our selections right. You will notice on the thumbnail I've got Scotty Drink. He has a gun matchup. I don't think many people own him in fantasy, that's for sure. And in Supercoach, he's a super pod. So if you do have him, this is the week maybe to back him just on the statistical data. You probably won't though, given that's not really the consensus move among sort of other content creators and sort of what's going on social media, but there is value in Scotty Drinkwater. But we'll get to that. Let's kick off quickly with the weather. The Sydney, it looks all good. Brisbane looks pretty grim. We have a Thursday night game, which looks like it's going to be sprinkling a bit there. And then we have, it was meant to rain today, but it didn't. So fingers crossed it holds off for tomorrow night's game, Dolphins-Panthers. And then Broncos a Friday night too there against the Roosters. So a bit grim for us Brizzy folk. I don't think it will really affect the games. Someone like Tedesco, who I own in draft, I'm scared to captain him, for example, on a greasy Suncorp field against the Broncos if it's raining. So I will keep that in mind. But yeah, because Sydney is where most of the games. Well, actually, that's not true this weekend because of Perth, which I haven't looked at the weather, but I did hear someone say it could be hot. So keep that in mind. So quick little weather update. Let's tuck into the games. Game 1 is Dolphins-Panthers, we just spoke about. For the Dolphins, we've got elite matchups for the left winger, the right 2RF, and the hooker. That's Jeremy Marshall-King, who's improving a little bit. He was pretty good at times last weekend. Left 2RF, fullback Hammer, and left half, great matchups. So, yeah, pretty good for the Finns against who used to be the staunch Panthers. Right half has a tough matchup. That is Isaiah Katoa, but he's been playing pretty well. Front row is neutral matchup for your DSAF owners like myself. I think he'll still be fine. We don't overvalue the data for front rowers because if it's tough, they just get through their work, you know. The Dolphins are pretty balanced in their scoring currently so far. For the Panthers, elite matchup for the hooker, who's Summerton, he's irrelevant, and the left centre, who is Casey McLean usually. Kind of butchered things last week, but yeah, he's viable again. Isaiah Yeo has a great matchup. Alan Motti has a great matchup on the right wing. Right 2RF, Liam Martin, and the left 2RF, whoever they decide to run out this week, have great matchups too. It's neutral for the halves and the right centre. Pretty like a bit of a mirrored affair here for both teams that haven't been great. Small discrepancy in favour of the Panthers, but it's all pretty equal. And the Panthers are dominant on the left edge, so that's McLean, that's Jenkins, and that is going to be Blaze to Lungy. So yeah, things looking good for Blaze this week. Next game, which it doesn't want to automatically click through for me, which is fucking bullshit. Game 2, Dragons-Titans. We have a gun matchup for the left 2RF and the hooker for the Dragons. Lock elite matchup, front rowers elite matchup, right winger elite matchup. Tough matchup for Tui Pilotu, which is a surprise. How much stock I put into that, I'm not sure. I'm still going to back the Gutho left sweep, which is pretty handy. Right, neutral matchup for the right centre and the right 2RF. So yeah, interesting how the edges have it tough. I wouldn't overvalue that, but for like Couchman and stuff in the middle front rowers, that's pretty good to see. And a lock there as well with elite matchup. So pretty good for the Dragons. They're dominant down their left, as we know, so I'm not overvaluing the call out here from the data. For the Titans, left half elite matchup, fullback elite matchup, but De Groot's not relevant. Front row is elite matchup, but Tino is sidelined, even though he's a lock. I sort of bundle him in there. Great matchup for the right 2RF and the hooker for the Titans. So when Fafita's on, it's going to be looking pretty good in theory, according to the data. Bad matchup for the left centre, left winger, and tough matchup, for both left and right wingers, but I wouldn't overvalue that against the Dragons. Big discrepancy in favour of the Dragons because they have been okay from a Supercoach perspective. It does help they just pants the Eels, and we saw like Tui go well, Couchman go well. We saw Gutho hit upside and whatnot, so that's sort of a big part of that. And the Titans, I should have mentioned, dominant down their right side, so that's where Fafita's been playing currently. That's Phil Sammy, which makes him relevant and whatnot. And that's Jaden Campbell's edge too, which is relevant in fantasy and Supercoach for sure. He's been a huge name in the content space and just like all over the Twitter sphere. For Game 3, Broncos left half elite matchup as well for the right centre. Great matchups for the right half, the front rowers, so Payne Haas, and the left winger, Jesse Arthurs. Right winger, bad matchup, right to RF, poor matchup, which is Jaden Hunt, who's irrelevant anyway, and left centre, neutral matchup, Shibasaki. But I would still probably play those guys. Big discrepancy in favour of the Broncos as a result. They're really balanced where they're scoring, the Broncos, and they're elite. They're scoring really high Supercoach points across the board. So, yeah, load up your Broncos in general. On the Roosters side of things, the only gun matchups for Rob Toya, so he is a start. He is a start this week, which is interesting because Shibasaki's meant to be a defensive centre, guys, but he's got that elite matchup against him, so just keep that in mind. Front rowers, great matchups, not super relevant, but Naf White could be a start. Hooker, great matchup. Left centre, good matchup. Neutral matchup for the right to RF. Poor matchup for the fullback, Tedesco, right winger and left winger, Dom Young and Tupou. Again, not super overvaluing that. Those guys will probably get in the mix, perhaps. The Roosters are dominant down their left edge so far this season. Sanford Smith, Crichton, and Tupou sort of thing. And Nwanga Nitawase, who is out this week as well, has been factoring into that. There's no mention of Savala's matchup. I'd avoid playing him like I have to in a draft league, but I would avoid playing him if you've bought him in as cheap or wavered for him or whatever. If you can, just due to the Broncos at home, I don't know, it could be 40-8, just bit grim. So just be mindful of who you play from your Roosters in this one. And just to go back, actually, I just want to say great matchup for Payne Haas. Does bode really well for fantasy. I don't know about Supercoach. After last week's start, I think you should be chasing a bit more upside at this point in the season. But in Supercoach draft, you could look at him for sure. And I think in fantasy, people are going to be scared off by last week's game. Whereas he got Terrelled, mate. He got Terrell made, mate. So I think in fantasy, you got to really look at Payne Haas, especially if it's raining on the Thursday night for Cleary. His ceiling could be impacted, and then you could go Payne Haas in NRL Fantasy, so keep that in mind. Game 4, Sharks, great matchup for the right half and the right winger, neutral matchup for the hooker, and it gets pretty grim already for whatever reason. The Seagulls choking out the matchups here. Poor matchup for the lock. Poor matchup right centre, poor matchup fullback. Not that you'd be playing Will Kennedy anyway. Bad matchup for the left wing and left centre. That sucks for me and Mulatalo, but I'm quietly confident Mulatalo can bounce back. His work rate was epic last week. I hope he can continue that up. He's looking really athletic and dynamic. It's exciting. Just need it to convey. And then the left to RF, bad matchup. Dominant down the edges, the Sharks. The Seagulls, for them, they have elite matchup for the left to RF, Ben Tavoyevich and the lock. Great matchup for the left centre, which is cooler. Good matchup for the right to RF, right half and right centre, and bad matchup for the right winger randomly. Ignore that. If those guys inside have got good matchups, it'll be right. That's awesome for sort of the DCE, Garrick and Olakawatu type players and owners. Tough matchup for the hooker and poor matchup for the left winger. No sight of Lehigh Hopewate in the list here, so that means he's falling into that neutral to good matchup area, so he's all goods. They dominate down their right side, the Seagulls, and it needs to be noted that they are elite down that edge from an output perspective. Discrepancy is in favour of the Seagulls. So for Sharks, poor performances recently, back-to-back, and then the Seagulls restricting other teams apart from the Storm has sort of helped them put this together and get this discrepancy in their favour. I wouldn't be captaining, vice-captaining anyone in this one, I don't think. I mean, Nico's got the great matchup, but I'm not convinced, so just don't do that, I don't think, guys. Game 5. A lot of green here. It's green lights here, baby. It's go time. Rabbitohs, front rowers, gun. Right half, gun. Right winger, left winger, gun. Left to RF, Koloa Matangi, elite. Left half, Latrell, poor, but ignore it. Back him. Hooker, neutral matchup. Left centre, neutral matchup. Rabbitohs are dominant down the middle, but they're poor at their scoring at the moment, so yeah, pretty grim. For the Cowboys, similarly grim, but we've got a gun matchup for the right to RF, we've got a gun matchup for the left half, Tommy Didden, and a gun matchup for Scotty Drink. Very exciting for Drink owners. He looks to be warming into the season. Elite matchup for left winger, great matchup for hooker, great matchup for the right winger, tough matchup for the right centre, neutral matchup for the front rowers, but they're not really relevant anyway. The Cowboys' balanced scoring and overall pretty poor, so both these teams are pretty grim. So this is either going to go really well for players or be just a bludger. Who knows which way it'll go. Game 6 is Eels-Raiders. Right to RF, elite matchup for the Eels. Right centre and right half, elite matchups too. So that right edge humming, even though the tough matchup for the right Eels, right winger, which was Lomax, is no longer... Was it Lomax? Yeah, he's no longer Lomax. So that's grim. Front rowers for the Eels have great matchup. Left winger has a great matchup. Fullback, bad matchup for Iongi. So maybe sit him in your classic and your Supercoach instances. Might not be the game for him. Even though he looked epic last week, it was against the Drag. So just, temper your Iongi expectations. Poor matchup for the lock. They're balanced where they're scoring the Eels, but it's really poor. It's just not relevant. For the Raiders, elite matchup for KO Weeks at fullback. Great matchup for left half, left centre, right centre. Good matchup, right winger. Neutral matchup, left winger. So, you could start Tamale in a pinch. I would against the Eels anyway, especially without Lomax. They're going to be they're even more decimated. Bad matchup for the right half and the hooker. Tough matchup for the lock. They're scoring most of their points down the middle, which is due to your Tarpanays, your Starlings and whatnot. But they're pretty balanced, the Raiders, but they're also not super high up the ranks necessarily. Game 7, Storm Warriors. Elite matchup for the right winger for the Storm. Left winger, neutral matchup. Weirdly, gets pretty grim. Don't know what's going on there. Poor matchup for the hooker. Right centre, poor matchup. Left half, tough matchup. Left to RF, tough matchup. Bad matchups for the lock, the fullback and the front rower. But I think ignore that. It's just based on the Warriors choking teams out and whatnot. But I think you can pretty confidently captain Puppy in this one. Storm at home, Warriors travelling. It's not looking good for them. Hoss. The dominant side for the Storm's the right, and they're elite in that and elite in their scoring. So it's great for your right edge players. I'm pretty excited for my Eli Katoa revenge game. Hopefully he can hit further upside. He's been absolutely lights out this year. So impressed with him. Absolute freak. The Warriors, left centre gun matchup, but don't really value that too much. Great matchup for the left half. Again, not that interested. Good matchup for the left winger, right to our fullback, not interested. Neutral matchup, right winger, not interested. Bad matchup for the front rowers, not really interested. Bad matchup for the right centre, still not interested. The Warriors, they're balanced in their scoring, but they are sort of focused down the middle. I don't know. It's not that excited by this for the Warriors, but I am excited for Storm. Fire Storm up, rip in, have a go, enjoy. The Warriors have the discrepancy, but again, that's just based on historical stuff. The Storm are going to carve them, I reckon. Knights Tigers game 8, it's the final one of the round. Pretty grim here. The Tigers have been staunch. So for the Knights, it's neutral matchups for the right winger, left winger, right half. Tough matchups for the left centre, front rowers, hookers. And the bad matchups for the right centres, left and right back rowers. Tigers have the discrepancy. The Knights are good down their edges, but they're pretty balanced actually in their scoring, so that's a good sign compared to previous years. Bad sort of for Marju owners, more mouths to feed, and Bradman best hogs the ball. For the Tigers, elite matchup for the right half, Galvin, which is nice. He's someone to look at in Supercoach in particular. Great matchup for the lock for the Tigers. Good matchup for our front rowers, Terrell May owners. He's definitely a captaincy option particularly in draft if you want just that bank that 60 plus, and then in fantasy as well. Don't sleep on T May baby. Good matchup for the hooker, neutral matchup for the left to RF, bad matchup for the left half, left winger and right centre is a tough one. They're just scoring down the middle due to T May and whatnot. You could get a bounce back from Ponga. I just would need to see it. I think there's better options this weekend. But don't hate the captaincy on Ponga on a Sunday night just for fun. But yeah, the Tigers have been pretty staunch, apart from the Broncos. So, yep. Got a few quick questions I've pulled out of the Discord for people. Hopefully that helps them out. But someone said, what are Fafita owners doing? Mate, I bought him in fantasy. I'm expecting a bounce back. I'm expecting more minutes. It's a big ask. I think, what you could try and do is just do the 1-for-1 trade. sell the fact he's got an awesome final strength of schedule to someone who's sitting pretty on the ladder. Get yourself like a big name that's performing well. Like, if you're really worried, aim for Olakau'atu. You won't get Eli Katoa, I don't think, but just target those sorts of guys. You got nothing to lose. If he bounces back, he bounces back, but you don't do anything rash, right? Some people probably like, he could be like what another recommendation would be, and it's you got to get lucky with this, but I think you throw him into like a bigger deal, right? And he's a big linchpin of a bigger deal. So if you're doing a 2 for 3 or a 3 for 2, he can be the guy that you can really pump up from that final strength of schedule where the Titans do play. It's not the perfect run, but it's a nice one, and they need to be fighting to the very end. He shouldn't get rested. And you can throw him in and use that if you have to, and just try and get marginal gains, guys. So let's say he's a Fafita even as a 60-minute bench player. Let's just say that's like, quote-unquote, worst-case scenario. Best-case scenario is 80-minute edge. That's best case. Worst case, he's a 60-minute bench guy or 55-minute bench guy. So if he just falls in the middle there, he's still a top 6 back rower, like, fundamentally. Once he's fitter, he's still a bit unders. He was unders up until the start of the season and whatnot. That's why he's back in. You just have to try and get someone else in that ballpark that's a little bit less risky, Like, I wouldn't do like Fafita for Jacob Preston personally, but if I could get anyone else in that top group, I'd go for it. And I wouldn't do like a Fafita for Hopgood either. They have to present me significant upside. Otherwise, I'd just hold Fafita and take the gamble. I drafted him, I just fucking run with it. When he's on. He's one of the only 2RFs that can put 3 120s in a row together. And that is the upside. That is like the gamble. That is like the best case, but it is just why his value is associated. But yeah, as I said, people are looking at 1-for-1s. It's not the play. It's actually do the 2 for 3, the 3 for 2 sort of stuff, and just get him in the mix, get his name in there. People will be convinced when he's a throw-in player on something. They'll go, shit, I'm dominating. I'm getting this guy. Say you like sell Jerome Hughes and David Fafita, but you get like 3, 10% improvements across the park on those positions. Obviously, that's a bad example because Jerome Hughes, like, what's an improvement on him? But just for example, that's how you kind of leverage a fallen gun, in my opinion, in my experience. So that's what I would consider doing. Otherwise, I just hold. And in people like me that are sitting at the top of the table, it's a buy low too. You take the risk. Do you have a way to leverage the fact you're winning? And maybe if you're winning, if you're sitting at the top of the table at this point in the season, it's for a reason, right? So you're going to have something in your favour. Either it's you've got more guns, you've got more depth, or you've hit crazy upside. They're all sellable. They're all assets that you can leverage to do buy lows without probably breaking the spine of your team. I wouldn't necessarily risk breaking the team I've put together that's doing well so far for Fafita, but you can think down that path because we don't know what the outcome is for him. We don't know whether he stays bench. We don't know what happens. So a lot to be considered, and we'll know a lot more in 2 to 3 weeks. So sit tight or try and, as I said, get a marginal gain out of him, get a 10% improvement. Just say an Olakau'atu who has the job security, or a Hudson Young that's not sexy. All right, Billy Smith or Toya. It's Toya for me. He looks really good. Billy Smith is awesome. He can score a try. I get that. I do get it. It's a Supercoach friendly game for both of them. But Billy Smith is made of glass. He's the most injury prone guy in that roster. I think. Well, Victor Radley. But yeah, just a cooked unit. The poor guy. Absolutely cooked. Just not built for first grade. The Roosters have been so good to him persisting with him. It's just not. He's just not designed to play footy. That's just a fact. So yeah, Toya for me. Can't for Nat Butcher. Yeah, well, like Can't has a tantalising best case scenario that has a 10%, 15% chance of existing. Nat Butcher is always somehow going to be playing in that team, and if Radley gets like 1 or 2 more of these head knocks, Nat Butcher could play 13, could play 60 minutes and score you 65 points and do that all season. And it has to be noted that the Roosters play like all these major buys. So however your league plays buys, that's value, right? If you've got a guy just dropping in 65 on a buy round, you take it. So for me, yeah, it's Nat Butcher. But I understand why you might want to see what happens with Cant. But the Cant's best outcome is he's not replacing Like, he's not going to take a job on the edge. So his best outcome is that he plays 50 minutes at lock as part of the rotation. That's his best outcome after these next 2 weeks. So yeah, you chase Butcher. All right, that's the questions. That is the preview. That is the analysis. Give it a like if it was valuable to you, if you enjoyed it. Remember, we do a live show on Tuesday nights. I figured last night how to do the countdown, so I'll use that in future. But set notifications so you know when we're going live and all that sort of thing. Come prepared with your questions, whatnot. We quickly run through TLT. I do upload it. It stays on YouTube and I upload it to Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. So a couple of ways to do that. But yeah, enjoy and good luck this week.